First, a little clarification on this video. All the substances I talk about today are from official printed sources, and I will be telling you which ones as I go. I have provided timestamps, and this video has a captioned script available, so it's easier to use as a reference archive if you're planning games or reading old adventures and want to find specific info on a narcotic. Some of the substances are more often encountered as poisons, but narcotics are poisons or a specific use of a poison. As they say, take too much of anything and it can kill you, even water. Obviously, none of the drugs in this video are real. They're made up for fantasy role-playing games, and the depictions of their use, if any, are purely for educational purposes. My channel is an educational channel after all, for what it's worth. Okay, that might keep YouTube off my back. Now that said, let's talk about drugs. In the seedy realms of Dungeons & Dragons, the pricing of narcotics varies widely, reflecting their rarity, potency, and often their mystical or otherworldly origins. Basic narcotics are affordable to the common folk, ranging from a few silver pieces to 100 gold coins. Moving up the scale, common narcotics fetch prices between 20 to 500 gold coins, while uncommon varieties may cost anywhere between 150 to 2,000 gold coins. Rare narcotics with their potent effects and scarcity command prices in the thousands of gold coins. Very rare narcotics are coveted treasures at the top end of the spectrum, exchanged for tens of thousands of gold coins, or even more for those with legendary properties. Many of these substances are unique or otherworldly, adding an air of mystery and allure to the acquisition. A set of familiar terms and mechanics governs the effects of narcotics on player characters in Dungeons & Dragons games. Onset refers to the timing of a substance's effects after ingestion, while duration indicates how long those effects last. The effects encompass physiological and psychological changes, from temporary enhancements to attributes or alterations in perception to potentially incapacitating states. After the primary effects wear off, characters may experience lingering consequences known as after effects. These can include hangovers, withdrawal symptoms, lethargy, or even long-term injury. Recovery then refers to the time it takes for a character to return to their normal state after the effects of the substance have worn off. In addition to the immediate effects, there is a risk of addiction. Characters who regularly consume narcotics may develop a dependence, leading to compulsive behavior and adverse effects if the substance is not regularly consumed. This adds an element of risk and consequence to substance use in-game, impacting not only the individual character, but also the social climate and likely the legal landscape of the game world. While narcotics may offer temporary benefits, long-term use often brings more harm than good. Characters may suffer from exhaustion, social stigma, and legal consequences, and be entangled in criminal activities. Thus, while the allure of these substances may be strong, the wise adventurer considers the cost before indulging. There are several options for representing narcotics use, intoxication, and recovery mechanics in 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. One approach is to utilize the rules and guidelines provided in earlier editions of the game, adapting them to fit the mechanics of 5th edition. Alternatively, Dungeon Masters may create custom rule sets tailored to their campaign setting, drawing inspiration from the lore and themes of the world that they've created. For example, a Dungeon Master might introduce a system of addiction mechanics with rules governing the onset of addiction, the severity of withdrawal symptoms, and the consequences of long-term substance abuse. They could also develop rules for intoxication with mechanics for impaired abilities, altered perceptions, and potential penalties during gameplay. In terms of recovery mechanics, Dungeon Masters might implement rules for overcoming addiction, while guidelines for treatment, rehabilitation, and the gradual reduction or withdrawal of symptoms over time. This could also introduce narrative elements to reflect the character's journey towards recovery, such as seeking out support from allies, undergoing therapy or magical healing, or confronting the root causes of their addiction. Ultimately, the goal is to create a gameplay experience that is both immersive and meaningful, where the use of narcotics is not only a plot device or a temporary bonus, but also a dynamic element that shapes the narrative, and it challenges the characters to confront difficult choices and consequences. It also adds a lot more flavor to your world building, and players don't just interact with narcotics as something they consume, they can also create, trade, and transport the stuff. In many shady places, drugs are as good as currency, and a welcome trade good that can earn a lot of profits. Okay, let's tour Dungeons & Dragons history and examine as many narcotics as we have time for. Check the timestamps in the video description text to find specific drugs you need information on, or you can click on a part of the video to pick a random drug if you find that useful. It certainly helps my YouTube analytics when you do that, so thank you. First up is Alchemist's Mercy, from issue 280 of Dragon Magazine, titled Better Living Through Alchemy. Alchemist's Mercy is a common ingested, non-addictive fine powder that is mixed with fruit juice or water to provide a surefire hangover cure. However, it often causes an outbreak of hiccups and it tastes horrible. Alindluth is found in the pages of Ed Greenwood's presents Elminster's Forgotten Realms, published in 2012. It's a pain-killing drug that is drunk to remove all sensations of pain and nausea. It also prevents a body from going into shock. Too much use of it can cause unconsciousness for long periods of time. It's addictive, but thankfully a rare substance, as addicts can react violently when deprived of it completely. Arthorvin is from 5th edition Unearthed Arcana, a fragrant grey powder mixed into a drink, quite addictive, made from rare magical plants. The drug is a treatment for anxiety, mood disorders, and dissociative disorders. When taken in large doses, it is likely to cause harm. More than 3 doses of the drug within 24 hours can suffer the same effect as a feeble mind spell, and the effect of the drug causes a general detachment and a numbing of emotions, but in some cases it can cure insanity. Azuldust, also known as phantom dust, is made from the cacti found in Azuldust, also known as the Lake of Salt in southeast Faerun. It is a grey, fine-grained dust normally carried in small paper envelopes. It is often used in attempts to contact the ethereal plane, for inhaling the powder can allow one to glimpse nearby ethereal creatures. Azuldust can temporarily blind and disable its users. It is thus popular with rogues and assassins who want to quickly discourage those who interfere with their work, throwing a pinch of the dust in an opponent's face. If the attack is successful, the target must save or inhale a dose that delivers a sudden rush of uncanny awareness as the scales of reality seem to fall from their eyes, and they can see into the border ethereal realm for a few hours. However, this is extremely stressful for the body, and if the drugged individual fails a second save, they will only be able to see their border ethereal realm and be blind to the real world around them until the drug wears off. You can find this drug in the Lords of Madness sourcebook. Baccaran is a recreational drug. It's a dried powder, sometimes left as a paste. It has many difficult to find ingredients. When chewed, it enhances wisdom but makes one vulnerable to illusions and mind-controlling powers. Baccaran first appeared in the Book of Vile Darkness. Bigwig mushroom from the adventure titled Out of the Abyss have a thin stemmed topped by a purple cap. Each can grow to about 4 inches or 10 centimeters tall, and consuming just one will cause a person to double in size and gain an 8-fold increase in mass for an hour. A few minutes before the effects wear off, the consumer feels a slight tingling before reducing back to normal size. Bigwigs are phase-res-infused fungus found only in the Whirlstone tunnels below the Duergar city of Gracklstoke, and they lose their potency the further they are taken from that area. Bitterleaf oil. This salve is used by kobolds and other scaled creatures to keep their scales healthy and shiny. Don't sell the wrong brand to the wrong customer, as they take offense at that easily. Each bottle holds enough for 10 applications for a small creature. If the oil is used daily, it staves off shedding their skin indefinitely. In addition, on any day the oil is applied, the creature can heal particularly well given a full night's rest. You can find bitterleaf oil in Races of the Dragon. Black Lotus extract comes from the 4th edition sourcebook Heroes of Shadow. This powder is mixed into thick, dark blue oil that becomes invisible once applied to a surface, such as a dagger blade. Made from the legendary Black Lotus flower, the extract is a potent contact poison. Black Lotus blooms only once every 3 years, growing only in shadowy places such as caves, swamps, and riverbanks. Blacktooth fungus paste was described initially in Forest of Blood, an article from Dungeon Magazine issue 103. A rarely consumed drug, it is often forced on victims by cultists or maniacs who aim to turn their victims into near mind-wiped feral beasts. Blacktooth grows on cavern walls or trees in wet areas as a shelf for fungus in the Silver Marches region of the Forgotten Realms. It smells like wet animal fur and is white with blackened edges. Eaten raw, it causes nausea. When ground into a paste, the toxins are greatly enhanced and stain the teeth grey, eventually blackening if the victim survives that long, as they stay in a highly aggressive state for longer periods the more doses they accumulate. Redflower leaves, when crushed and eaten, can enhance hand-eye coordination by way of an obsessive, fixed attention state of the intoxicated user. The tiny red bog flowers are not very addictive and cost about 300 gold for a dose outside of the areas they grow. They are better fresh. The flowers dry out and lose potency, so users may take too many and become sick for about half an hour. They are favoured by professional fighters who need that short 10-minute combat advantage. Bloodpurge from Elminster's Forgotten Realms is found in the depths of freshwater marshes polluted by magical and non-magical wastes. This herb can neutralise minor poisons and makes a handy pot of salve that travels well and is popular in healing kits for adventurers. Where you find cataplepis and the folk who actually milk them for their infamous death cheese, you can find plenty of the Bloodpurge herb growing. This is not to be confused with blood flowers, which also create a healing salve. They were harvested to extinction by Kalashite alchemists not long after their discovery in the year 234 of the Dale Reckoning calendar in the Forgotten Realms, according to Dragon Magazine number 228, page 34, in the tale of the Atlantan campaign. Bloodroot is the root of a little-known plant found in the deep south mare jungles in the Forgotten Realms, first detailed in the adventure The Vampires of Waterdeep, Part 1, Blood of Malar, in Dungeon Magazine, issue 126. The Bloodroot is highly addictive to vampires, not very addictive to the living though. Bloodroot enhances the taste of blood it is added to, and they will pay thousands of gold for small amounts in any underworld of any major city in Faerun. Living people who consume it feel more robust for a while vampires feel more charismatic, but also much more vulnerable to uncontrollable rages if they smell fresh blood. Burn Salve from the article Alchemy Begins in the Forest from Dragon Magazine issue 301. Derived from the muck muddle, a brown and dead-looking plant with a rank smell common to most swamps, also called swamp dock. It is never cultivated. Most folks kill them off, but those who know can boil the leaves to create a potent, smooth white salve for the immediate treatment of burn injuries. Burrfoot's Nut Brown Ale is brought to us from the article titled Drunkards and Flagons from Dragon Magazine issue 334, famously attributed to the halfling brewmeister named Nedelmeyer Burrfoot. This recipe has been a shared favourite of halflings and tallfolk alike. Burrfoot's has a similar reputation as absinthe, except it's just an ale. It still has mildly euphoric properties thanks to the Burrfoot family secret recipe. Halflings claim that a flagon of Burrfoot's will mellow even the most taciturn dwarf, so long as he keeps drinking. When leaves from the Carthagu plant are dried and then steeped in boiling water for a few minutes, they make a thin green tea with medicinal use. It has a calming, relaxing effect on casual drinkers and is part of many home remedies for a variety of ailments. According to Unearthed Arcana, the drinker experienced waves of calm wash over them, removing confusion and soothing turbulent emotions. Those under the influence of Carthagu are more open to suggestion after drinking. Just one cup and they are likely to drift off to sleep very easily. Chaunsel is found in Elminster's Forgotten Realms book. Chaunsel is used by thieves and individuals who have to work in near complete darkness. It creates touch sensitivity so their fingertips can feel even the slightest detail. Applying too much will cause the area covered to go numb for several days. Dathlil is also from Elminster's Guide. It's a plant with tiny white flowers that can be consumed directly or brewed into a delicate tea. Commonly taken as a hangover cure, it can be highly effective against many types of poison, but it's not the most reliable cure. Devilweed is from the Book of Vile Darkness, page 42. Same page number as in Elminster's Guide. Devilweed is derived from the dried and rolled leaves of the Wesson plant, smoked like tobacco. Users are strong but have numbed senses. They are easily confused and generally act in an agitated, skittish manner. It's quite addictive, also much like tobacco. Droth, from Dragon Magazine issue 421 and Ed Greenwood's article Abyssal Trade Goods, Not a Bad Thing. Droth is also known as Demon's Blood and is thick, black, sticky substance made from the blood of manes and boiled down chitin of Durgo demons. When smeared in the eyes, it cures blindness, and when eaten, it tastes horrible, but it also cures many forms of disease. When smeared on creatures or objects, it helps protect from all forms of corrosion, totally protects and repels green slime, and smeared on dissolved flesh can return it from green slime to normal living body tissue. Felsul tree has properties very similar to those of willow trees, chewing the soft wood that directly underlies the bark of a living felsul tree, or chewing small Dathlil roots, those purplish of hue, quells nausea and deadens all mouth, tooth and throat pain. A day's dose is about the size of your fist and quite bitter tasting, but some find it addictive. It's quite common in the Forgotten Realms. The Flower of the Dawn from the pages of the Heroes of the Feywild is native to the Feywild and found only near the Maze of Carthagu. When pinched, the blossom dies and releases a fragrance that instantly wakes a person up, even from magical slumber. Each blossom costs 25 gold coins, but have enough of them and you can banish sleep in someone for a dangerous amount of time. Green Welcome is an addictive drug from Dragon Magazine 145 and 146 of the adventure Seeds of Sehan. Derived from the secretions of Sehan, a slimy horror left behind by evil alien beings in ancient times, the raw slime is a contact narcotic that causes wisdom damage and intense feelings of strength, contentment and belonging, but carries the risk of horrific transformation into a bloated, mindless plant creature oozing the addictive slime. Green Welcome is a dilute version of this substance, a gateway drug spread by cultists for their evil goals. Green Rapture is an interesting narcotic poison from Dragon Magazine issue 358 in an Ecology of the Chaoti article. We learn that the Far Realm Chaoti are masters of using their creepy black resin to create organic tools and weapons, such as a device called a wrist lance, which delivers a dart like an organic handheld crossbow, most commonly loaded with a pale green poison called Green Rapture. It can cause paralysis, but also acts as a catalyst that allows the Chaoti to transform a victim into one of their own kind more easily and quickly. I don't know exactly where you would buy the stuff, but a dose of Green Rapture will cost around 300 gold coins, which is pretty expensive for a paralytic poison with less than certain results, but the name does the selling, and addicts making the mistake of buying and using this stuff for fun are in for a pretty long day. Harlthorn from Elminster's Forgotten Realms is made by boiling down equal parts of the thorns from Harlthorn bush with the leaves of a weed called hoofleaf. It's known for providing restful sleep and calming emotions such as grief or rage, soothing irritated skin and reducing the effects of delirium. Haunspeir is found in Lords of Madness. It's named after a wizard from Neverwinter and is processed into a paste that resembles tobacco. It's sometimes pressed into pill form. When taken, it boosts the intelligence for a few minutes, but impairs blood clotting, so wounds that slash or pierce are much more severe. Insanity Mist is found in Heroes of Shadow and is a disturbing, deep purple liquid that swirls with milky colours that seem to resolve into disturbing images. It's used in the torture of psychic creatures and as an incapacitating poison that creates a cloud when triggered and may cause madness in those who get overdosed with it. Liquid Courage is from Dragon Magazine number 344 in an article called Hunting the Worm. It's made exclusively by dwarves and is very potent mushroom alcohol with mild hallucinatory effects. Made with a secret blend of different fungi, those who drink a glass feel brave, arrogant, and fearless. Each bottle contains enough for 5 doses. From 3.5 editions Lords of Darkness, sold as a powder or a beige-coloured jelly, Camarth is made from the combination of a rare forest root and an underdark fungus. It causes a temporary increase in speed and reaction time. Basically, for 80 gold coins and the risk of addiction, you get the same effects of the Expeditious Retreat spell for 5 minutes. However, take more than one dose in 8 hours and there's a high chance you'll become temporarily and very painfully paralyzed by muscle cramp for hours at a time. Luhix is from the Book of Vile Darkness. It's made from the powdered stalks of plants that are found only in the Abyss. Users will wound themselves and dust the fresh wound with the Luhix dust. They then seal the wound with tight bindings or magical healing. This results in a minute of intense pain, then all pain goes away for up to 2 hours and all attributes get a boost. Taking too much of this drug is fatal and a very painful way to die. Mindfire is a drug made from wild fire clover stems, not the pretty red and orange flower clusters common to the plains and farmlands of the Forgotten Realms. It's often added to other ingested poisons. Even something as simple as adding this powder to someone's alcohol will cause them to become deeply confused for about an hour. This drug comes from Dragon Magazine issue 301. Moon honey from Dragon issue 421 is actually the dung of ground worms that dwell on many abyssal layers and which are eaten by many demons. It is a smoky tasting, nourishing, even rib-sticking treat to humans, halflings, dwarves, elves and even half-elves. Its name comes from its consistency and appearance, both of which are rather like the honey produced by wild bees, and the fact that when bathed in moonlight it momentarily acquires a rough, fleeting sweetness. Moon honey doesn't spoil unless it's scorched in an open flame or soaked in citrus juices, and so it's an ideal trail food for wayfarers of all kinds, who can readily carve it into handy chunks. It is prized for its property of neutralizing almost all known poisons active within those who eat it. Mordain Vapor, aka Dream Mist, is from the Book of Vile Darkness. Made of roughly ground leaves of a rare herb found in deep forests, Mordain is so potent that it's taken by steeping a small amount in hot water and then inhaling the vapors of the resultant tea. Raw Mordain powder and Mordain tainted water are deadly poisons. Taking the powder directly or drinking the water produces an immediate overdose. Dream Mist is renowned for the beautiful visions it induces and the deadly peril of its sinister embrace. The visions are so incredibly beautiful and poignant that addiction is assured. Normal life seems drab and futile in comparison, and addicts will do anything to get more doses of the drug. If 2 doses are taken within the space of an hour, or if raw Mordain powder or Mordain tea is ingested, the drug is a deadly poison. Mordain Vapor addicts often throw out the tea as soon as they inhale and make sure that only 1 dose is available at a time to make sure they cannot overdose on the deadly drug. Mushroom powder from the Book of Vile Darkness is taken from a rare blue mushroom. It must be inhaled. It's popular among arcane spellcasters thanks to its boosts to intelligence and charisma. However, it is a mild hallucinogen and overuse can cause permanent damage, including paralysis. Myconid essence is an oilless substance with an earthy tang. A phial about the size of a human child's finger contains a single dose. It is an earthy smelling oil that pours slowly, and only strong food can cover its taste. The essence spoils quickly in contact with air, so must be applied to food quickly. Those dosed by it are lethargic, sapped of strength, and full use of their mind. Harvested from Myconid sovereigns, while it can be harvested from Dev sovereigns, the cruel drow elves prefer to take chunks from the Myconid while it's still alive. Nilhog's nose is from Out of the Abyss. It's a small mushroom that enhances the sense of smell, which can be detrimental if encountered with a pack of troglodytes, but kobolds love the stuff. Netherite poison found in Heroes of Shadow is only interesting because it's a poison sometimes used by severe addicts to other drugs, specifically because just touching netherite for a couple of minutes with bare skin will activate it. It's a clear, odorless, tasteless liquid that can be soaked onto an object. If you drink the stuff, it will certainly poison you severely, as the damage increases if you fail your saving throw to overcome the toxin. Just holding the netherite will make a creature vulnerable to any subsequent poison or narcotic, losing any natural immunity or resistance they may have had built up over time. so you can see why addicts would seek this stuff out. Other than making their addiction much less expensive and dangerous, using netherite poison this way has no other long-term side effects. Well known in the time of Netheril, the secret of making Panacolo was lost when the Empire fell. With the return of the City of Shade, the descendants of the Netherese told the Red Wizards of the herb's power. The Thayans have rescued small amounts of it from oases in Anarok and have begun to sell the drug in small quantities. Panikao's leathery-tasting leaves attune the user to the weave and boost the power of arcane spells. Prolonged or excessive use can cause severe charisma damage. A single dose costs 250 gold coins. Rule, also known as Battle Wine, is from Lords of Darkness. It's a spicy red fluid with a bitter aftertaste that causes increased physical prowess and aggression at the expense of caution and agility. A dose costs 50 gold coins, and users are prone to taking too many doses too close together, as the stamina boost from the drug staves off the exhaustion caused by the drug's side effects. This doesn't end well, as you can imagine. Addicts have O-leaf sensitive nerves and avoid strong scents and being touched, yet will avoid ranged combat in favour of up-close and personal fighting. Sakrash is from Lords of Darkness sourcebook for 3.5 edition and is a sweet, oily concoction of wines, rare tree saps, and certain herbs that are only manufactured in Thay and Mulholland. It protects the user's mind and thoughts, which can't be read, nor any attempt to connect, sense, or communicate with that person's mind. A single dose costs 500 gold coins. The initial effect is dazzling, and it will break the mental bond with a familiar for a while. Another name for Sakrash is Twilight Mind. Sanish is from the Book of Wild Darkness, a bluish liquid distilled from wolf milk and a powdered desert plant. This concoction is very popular, and addicts are easy to spot due to their permanently blue-stained lips. The effect is euphoria and being immune to pain for up to 4 hours. Addicts tend to sleep a lot, and overdosing on the drug can put a person into a stupor for up to 8 hours. Snake oil from Heroes of the Feywild. Each dose costs 500 gold coins. Harvested from the water snakes native to the coral reefs near Astrazalian in the Feywild. Snake oil applied to aching joints and wrinkled flesh can rejuvenate an aging body. After a treatment of snake oil, the treated skin peels away from the body, leaving soft, smooth flesh behind. Full body treatments of snake oil have been known to reverse the cosmetic effects of aging process, removing an entire year of wear from the body with each treatment. The cost of doing so is a reasonable option only for the wealthy, of course. Even though the treatment removes the physical effects of aging on the skin and some associated aches and pains, all other bodily processes continue to age normally. Death can't be put off by using snake oil, a fact seldom conveyed by those who sell it. Spotty Dragonfire from Dragon Magazine issue 301 is a foot-tall plant with bright red, yellow and orange blossoms that can only open at night time. Usually solitary plants, they do grow in clusters around the lairs of red dragons. They consider the flowers to be good luck and don't take kindly to young dwarven alchemists who collect these to pass their final apprentice test in brewing a dragon brew. This beverage numbs pain and increases endurance for an hour or so and can be purchased for 50 gold. It's a thick, syrupy drink that most dwarves know about. Sweetheart's Confection from Heroes of the Feywild is valued at 10 gold coins per dose. Gnomes employed by the Aladrin Archfey, known as the Prince of Hearts, make this heart-shaped confection. It's split into 2 halves and shared between lovers before they part company for a time. Until they meet next, the lovers share an emotional bond. Each vaguely sense each other's emotions. Each can sense when the other is in peril, though this link doesn't reveal precise details of the situation. From Elminster's Forgotten Realms Guide, Swift Sleep is a gummy and translucent ale-brown liquid that smells like crushed citrus fruit, even though it's made from a distillate of crushed flies and certain tree beetles, mixed with duskwood sap. Delivered directly into the bloodstream, Swift Sleep is a highly reliable sleep aid that has no long-term side effects. Tansabra from Elminster's Forgotten Realms again. This introduced to the bloodstream, this mixture of specific venoms causes mammals to go into a state of suspended animation called Tisabra sleep. They can be woken early by use of magic and some rare antidote recipes. The length of this induced sleep is random though, and repeated exposure to the drug can be fatal in some cases. You never know how potent the stuff is going to be in any given dose. Tatiskyre is found in Elminster's Forgotten Realms book. Eating small flakes of Tatiskyre bark slows bleeding, internal and external, and thickens the blood, soothing agitated folk and making them drowsy. This herb can aid in the healing of many sorts of internal wounds. Orcs and all goblinkin, goblinoids, hobgoblins and such, are especially susceptible to the effects of Tatiskyre bark and typically fall asleep if given as much to eat as would cover their palm. Since this is a sleep typically filled with pleasant dreams, many orcs gather and carry the bark and eat it regularly. The Tatiskyre is a gnarled shrub that tends to form loops or drooping arcs like wild raspberry canes, rerooting when it touches the ground only to throw up fresh stems. It grows all over the heartlands and to the north, and it's smaller in colder climes, and its bark is flaky and easily brushed off. Its foliage sprouts into bursts of needle-like flat leaves up and down its stems, kind of like a rosemary. Tickle from Lords of Madness is a succulent swamp plant with fat red leaves, which when chewed function as an analgesic drug. The onset of the drug is slow, but after a few minutes the user becomes almost entirely fearless and without pain. Terrazul is a flowering plant found only in a few locations in the jungle south of the southeastern Faerun city of Dalzima. When ground into a powder and snorted, the drug is a powerful stimulant that can keep your user awake for days. When drunk as a potion, it causes visions. The House of Sirat controls Terrazul trade in Dalzima city. They keep rumours that the roots of the plants grow out of portals to the Fey realm created by Kraes Darrow in the Underdark, which is why addicts sometimes give birth to children with tentacles. I'm not even kidding. Thankfully, adventurers destroyed this drug supply recently, so the remaining powder is the last of it in stock on planet Toril, as far as anyone knows. A shipment made its way into Baldur's Gate not that long ago. Terran brandy is from the Book of Vile Darkness. It's made from the distilled essence of dying Fey. Evil spellcasters favour this potent green magical alcohol as it boosts their spellcasting level for about half an hour. Overdosing is unlikely as the stuff is strong enough to impress a dwarf. Thardanen is from Elminster's Forgotten Realms as a translucent yellow liquid that's odorless but tasted like sugary strawberries. Thardanen is made from a distillate of certain fish scales combined with wine and various bird bloods. Thardanen is harmless if consumed, but if the substance touches one's outer body in any other way, the resulting shock to the system causes uncontrolled shuddering. Timask, another Underdark fungus, this one is known as the Devil's Mushroom. They're 2 feet tall with a beige cap and an orange stalk with red stripes, very distinctive, and if uprooted or destroyed will release a toxic spore cloud over 15 feet. Any creature inhaling the spores becomes poisoned and suffers the confused condition for a minute or so. It's unpleasant stuff, but you find addicts hooked on the spore snuff in seedy Underdark markets. From Elminster's Forgotten Realms guide, Tonandurr Bark is bound against open wounds where it inhibits bleeding and infection and helps skin and flesh to heal by helping it expands and knits together. This substance works on humans, halflings, dwarves and gnomes only. Elves gain no benefit and it causes infections in goblinkin. Tonandurr is a tall, spindly weed tree of the heartlands and more subtly forests, not hardy enough to survive winters much north of Waterdeep, though a few specimens are kept alive in indoor gardens in Silvery Moon and Neverwinter. Tongue of Madness is found in Out of the Abyss and Dungeon of the Mad Mage, an edible fungus that looks like a large human tongue. A creature that eats it and fails to resist the toxin is compelled to speak every thought that they have out loud for up to an hour before the drug wears off. Truthful Serum from the 5th edition Dungeon Master's Guide has basically no information on its source or components. It's ingested, not injected, and if the victim doesn't roll over an 11 on a Constitution saving throw, they are poisoned, which is automatic for all the 5th edition drugs. meaning they roll two 20-sided dice on all attack rolls and ability checks and have to take the lowest dice number rolled. Plus, the victim is now under the effects of the Zone of Truth spell, but of course, it's not a spell. I think 5th edition would be better if a failed saving throw versus drugs gave a level of exhaustion instead of the poisoned condition. Keep that condition around for traps and such. But I would alter the exhaustion levels a little bit, make it so the first level is disadvantage on ability checks, then disadvantage on attack rolls, then disadvantage on saving throws, then half their speed, then half their maximum hit points, and then reduce speed to 0, and then death, which gives us one more step and just shifts the speed reduction until the victim is more incapacitated. The main thing is that you have to be pretty far gone before you get disadvantage on further saving throws versus the drug, which is where a victim probably needs outside help to survive anyway. But I'm not here to fix 5th edition game mechanics, I merely offer suggestion for your table. Tongue Loose from Dragon Magazine issue 316, article Cloak and Dagger, Gear, Gadgets and Gizmos for your game, is more like a suggestible stupor sort of drug. A more interesting drug than in that article is Slumberweed. It's ground into a powder and kept for either loading into a blow dart or to sprinkle on food to take out victims, or for a person to take on purpose as the effects cause the body to feign death for a few hours, which can be handy in emergency. Tongue Loose costs 150 gold coins for a dose, and Slumberweed costs 500 gold. Vine Oil is from Dragon Magazine issue 301, derived from the sap of the sand vine, combined with a few other ingredients that make an oil that can be spread on the skin to numb the area. A full application allows a person to withstand a great deal of pain. They can also smell like fish, thanks to the sand vine sap being quite fishy smelling. Vodare from the Book of Wild Darkness is an extremely bitter brown powder. Vodare is usually mixed with honeyed water or sweet wine to dilute the taste. It is made from the crushed petals of a flower that grows only on the graves of those who have dedicated their lives to the worship of the god Ralister. Vodare increases a user's confidence hugely, providing a bonus to intimidate, bluff, diplomacy, and such. It also causes a mild euphoria, but taking too much too soon can put a person into a catatonic state. When inhaled as a powder, Tonandurr varies widely in effects. To many people, it does nothing at all. Others get mild rashes and itches. For a few, it switches pain and pleasure sensations for an hour or two. So a gentle caress becomes discomfort, and a slap, flogging, heavy punch, or cutting wound can induces an enjoyable feeling. For others, it makes them feel warm, even if they are wet and out of doors in freezing temperatures, and at the same time, happy and alert for 2 days or more. Sleep isn't needed for these folks, and their dexterity and judgment don't suffer due to weariness. Tonandurr prevents shock and immobility due to exposure, but not frostbite or lower body temperature, so users won't get hypothermic, but they could freeze solid. And the drug is a mixture of herbs and animal essences. It also acts as a complete and instant antidote to certain poisons for some individuals. It's one of the more infamous entries in Elminster's Guide to the Realms. From Elminster's Guide to the Forgotten Realms, Yesgrel is an enspelled mixture of spittle or blood of 7 sorts of monsters. Yesgrel is a vivid purple opaque liquid. The substance wreaks havoc on the physiology of anyone who drinks it, yet at the same time it protects that same body from any other harmful effects for a short period, so it can be taken to survive a few deadly exchanges in combat, which can make all the difference and is reason enough to tolerate its painful side effects. Finally, Zixalix from 3.5 edition Unearthed Arcana is a drug used in the treatment of mental disorders, a potent combination of many rare herbs and alchemical substances. Zixalix provides treatment for somatoform disorders, psychotic disorders, including schizophrenia, and psychosexual disorders. There are vastly more poisons in Dungeons & Dragons than there are narcotics, but the line between the two is very blurred because narcotics are just a type of poison. And whatever game turns into in the years ahead, I hope they improve the rules a bit from what they are at the moment and get back to more of the fun and games of the older editions. Let me know in the comments below if you have used any of these in your games, any official narcotics I may have missed from published sources, and if this video pleases you, I can make a follow-up video covering a great collection of homebrew narcotics you can use for your games, or that will inspire you to make up plenty of your own. So please like, subscribe, comment, and as always, my name is AJ Pickett and I'll be back with more for you very soon.